Hey guys, my name is Thomas Leonard. I'm here at the Contour Lines USA Modern Harvest Farms site in Asheville, North Carolina. You can see here we've just installed this Berms swale. This is about an 18-inch wide and went a little deep here. This might be about 24-inch deep um, swale with a berm built up on the downhill side. And the function of this is that it's going to catch any erosion, catch any runoff, catch any water that might be exiting the property, especially in those really heavy rain events where it doesn't have time to sink in and the water starts moving downhill, carrying organic matter and stuff with it. This swale is on contour here, and it's going to trap a lot of that nutrients and give it time to soak into the ground so that it can get to the roots of our trees that we're going to plant right here on the top of this berm. So the way that I like to prepare these beds for planting, these berms, these raised beds that we're building here, is to rake them out. You know, there's a couple different tools you can use. I've got a regular old hoe here. This takes a little bit longer, but can do the trick. And you know, in really heavy clay soils, this is a good option. But what I'm going to use today is what I call just a dirt rake, a metal rake here. And this doesn't have to be perfect. You know, two of my other farms, my personal farms, I did not rake out the berms because it was just a ton of labor. We're putting thousands of trees in the ground. Um, but well, basically all I'm doing here is I'm just pulling the top downhill a little bit. I'm just kind of making this a little bit less steep and giving a nice flat bed to plant into. So this is going to help prevent or reduce the amount of erosion and also keep the roots from becoming exposed. Say this is really important if you're digging in the same season that you're planting in. But yeah, you know, I try to keep my feet moving as I'm doing this. I try not to take too much time. I'll look for valleys and ridges along the berm, and I might push soil into the valleys or pull it into the valleys to help kind of level out this front slope here. This makes it a lot easier to manage. You can, you know, push mowers. You can drive them up onto the side of here. It makes it a little bit easier to control weeds, especially around like year 3, year 2, year 3, um, when the canopy is not quite mature in North America, but you're able to still spot your trees pretty well. I always stress that this doesn't have to be perfect. This is also a good time to collect rocks. Usually I'll find a central area and kind of keep a rock pile, and I'll use these maybe in the future for any overflows to help armor and prevent erosion in those areas, or as a building material with various projects. So you can see this process actually goes pretty quickly. You don't got to spend a lot of time. You know, the rain's the best shaper of the soil, but this will help prevent a little bit of erosion, make a nice even seed bed to plant your cover crop into, and keep the roots from getting exposed as the soil settles. I always say it's best to get one rainfall in on the site before you plant, and that really helps the soil settle before you plant trees. So now the most efficient way of planting is to go ahead and get everything laid out. You can see here in this particular planting, in this particular berm, I'm alternating false indigo and elderberry. So we've got our nitrogen fixer and our producing crop. This farm is going to serve as a nursery to help support other Contour Lines projects. So really packing in these elderberries to propagate them and grow them as cuttings. Laying out the trees in a nice row like this allows planters to come in and pop them in the ground really quickly. This makes things go a lot faster. The less number of times you have to walk back, get another bunch of trees, the faster things are going to go. So now, planting. These are the 3 tools I recommend for planting. Got a regular shovel here. Got a double bar. This tool is made for planting trees. It's a little bit narrower, a little bit heavier. Gets in the ground really good. I actually really like using a mattock like this, using this wide end. Just use its own weight, gets in the ground, makes a nice little crack, kind of like the double bar. But the trick here is that we're just gonna go through and pretty quickly get these trees in the ground. Cut open up a little area. I'm gonna get the roots in there, and I want to get the roots as deep down into the ground as I can. I want to make sure that I'm covering up all the roots, but not covering up too much of the trunk with most species. Elderberries, one example where we have some leniency with that. Cover it in, pack the soil in lightly. I don't want any air bubbles down there. That can actually kill the roots. Another thing to remember is you don't want to jay the roots and actually have them pointed upwards or even sticking out of the ground. That's a common mistake. And then after planting, I always try to mulch around the trees. And then I come back and look at the trees and make sure I don't see any exposed roots above the soil line, especially after a heavy rain. It's a good time to come in and check on everything. This site, we're going to seed cover crop after we plant today, but that's another really important thing to go ahead and take care of initially. With this dill bar, I find that I can plant about 1,000 trees in a day. Average person hits somewhere between about 30 to 55 trees an hour, but a good worker can easily hit 100 trees in an hour. So now this is really dense spacing, but the goal is that we're going to come back in here and prune these nitrogen fixing trees starting in as early as the 2nd year, and this will make the nitrogen that they've been fixing in the roots available to the other trees. So we're planting our fertilizer at the same time as we plant our trees. We look at this as a really good regenerative practice that reduces the dependency on energy intensive nitrogen fertilizers, but also still delivers a really nice growth rate.